Nobody wants to host the Olympics. Now it's in stinky Paris. Yeah, it's even stinkier than before. China Olympics was dope as fuck. I know for a fact that even though the Chinese government was super happy that they got to host the Olympics, they did complain that it did shit up their towns and their cities. I would have bet London 2012. Well, that was great. Guys, I'm gonna be real. I don't think any Olympics is great for the town. For the locals, it's horrible. And it costs billions of dollars. Like, billions of dollars.
Down the back stretch. It's September 2017, and members of the International Olympic Committee are gathered to pick the city that will host the 2024 Olympic Games. The biggest decision this group makes. They've put representatives from the two competing cities on stage for their announcement.
With the
they have mayors competing?
The unanimous decision we took.
But everyone here already knows who won.
Please raise your hand.
Every 4 years, more than 5 million people attend the Olympics, and over 3 billion watch it on TV. It's a once-in-a-generation opportunity for one city to show off, and the competition has typically been fierce. 12 cities applied to host the 2004 Games before the IOC picked Athens, Greece. 10 applied for 2008, won by Beijing, China.
Beijing, China for 2008. Guys, I want to know a fun little factoid? I learned about this from a Chinese friend I had. She said that the reason why they were so adamant about getting 2008 is because the number 8 is very, very lucky in Chinese numerology. And they thought that it was really, really cool that they got to host it then. And that's why they went all out as well.
But since then, interest has been waning. 9 cities applied for 2012, then 7, then 5, and for 2024, only 2 were left when it was time for a vote.
Only 2? I think the pandemic has done irreversible damage to society and the world. It's probably a financial thing on top of it being like a concern. Yeah, LA traffic will be even worse. Oh boy.
So the IOC did something it's never done before.
Paris 24, Los Angeles 28.
Oh yeah, they picked both.
The IOC was so concerned that nobody would bid to host the games in 2028 that it simultaneously awarded the games 2024 to Paris and 2020.
God, this is gonna be so ass. LA is such a disaster zone. I have no idea how they're gonna cope with it. Oh my god, man. I feel bad for anyone that lives in LA as like a normal person. I know that some people can't like move out and it's like, oh, they can't even take care. My family wanted to meet in Los Angeles to like have like a fun time, and then they found out about like how LA became like an insane shithole and how there's like a poop map, and they just said no, never mind. I'm not even joking. This happened like 6 years ago. They said, do you want to meet up in LA and like have fun, you know, like in LA, and then go to like San Francisco as well? And then they said, oh, poop map is San Fran? Okay, hold on, I'm misremembering. They said, let's meet up in LA and then go to San Francisco because they have some friends there. And they were like, never mind, we're gonna skip it. They said, never mind. What's a poop map? A poop map is where people, if you download like a certain map on an app, you can find out where people have been pooping in the street and they flag it so that people can avoid those spots. Yeah, that's a thing. I'm not joking. Yeah, it's from San Francisco, yeah.
To Los Angeles. There used to be a strong demand to host. Now there isn't.
The Olympics are the most prestigious sports event in the world. Why doesn't anyone want to host it anymore?
Because it costs too much money and it doesn't make any money. Wow, what a surprise. And they shit up the local economy.
So the Olympics have actually had this problem before. They originally came up with this idea of rotating the games around to different cities back in 1896 because they had to.
We didn't have international jet travel and we didn't have international telecommunications.
Andrew Zimbalist wrote a book about the economics of hosting sports mega events like the Olympics.
So it was necessary in order to spread the games internationally and get the whole world to participate and enjoy them.
As the games grew, the IOC kept this tradition, eventually developing a competition where cities would submit bids and it would vote on a winner. But
yeah, that's another thing. It's a bidding thing. Yeah, the people with the most money, they get to like play the game, you know what I'm saying? What do you expect from a city that requires you to get a permit to place flowers outside your business, but a tent city can crop up and you can't do shit about it? Look, I'm not gonna get into all the semantics of like why LA is like the worst possible town to like pick. I'm talking like, oh, you just can't make that a thing, man. Oh, it's gonna be horrendous.
When it opened bidding for the 1984 games, not a single city wanted to host because the last few hadn't gone very well.
Yeah, crazy.
Local political protests had turned violent during the 1968 games in Mexico City, and terrorists killed 11 Israeli athletes at the 72 Munich games.
Invade the Olympic Village, taking 9 Israeli athletes hostage and killing 2 others in their room.
Both incidents showed cities that hosting could be politically risky, or even deadly. When construction problems and corruption led Montreal to spend more than 13 times their budget, they began.
Hold the phone. I'm gonna look this up. 1976 Montreal Olympics, but 1.5 billion Canadian dollars in 1976? They're triple their original budget in 300 million. Oh my god. And this is in 1976, chat. That's probably like more than like double that. That's insane. Holy shit.
Began to view it as financially risky too. So in the late 70s, the IOC was barreling towards disaster until one city offered to save them. Under one condition, Los Angeles did not want to spend a lot of money.
Okay.
To do that, it offered to use venues it already had instead of build new ones.
See, that's
the LA
smart,
Coliseum,
sure.
where the USC football team played, the Forum, where the Lakers played, UCLA's gymnasium and tennis center, and the athletes could just stay in the college dorm rooms. Since the IOC didn't have a choice, it said yes.
I think that's not a great idea. Imagine the travel. If they're super far apart, it might be an issue.
And was soon glad it did.
Was it good? Was it smart? Woo! There's something so nostalgic and like old about like 1980s to 90s like footage. Wow.
The 84 LA games were a success in almost every way.
Yeah.
But especially financially. It only cost around $1 billion in 2015 dollars. And LA even made a profit.
Yeah, because they used venues. Like, the biggest problem is that they have to build these venues within, like, 4 years of them announcing it. This was very, very smart.
Should have become the model for future Olympic host cities, but instead, it sparked the problem that is plaguing the Olympics today.
It's interesting how many of these sports and politics stories really boil down to economics. If you recall, the Premier League story is a story about a warped economic system. The NFL is so new economic model for sports leagues.
Good lord!
If you haven't seen those videos yet, give them a watch. If you haven't subscribed to SearchParty, now's your chance. We publish every 2 weeks this summer, so I've been working from all over the place. I've been writing scripts on trains. I've been animating on airplanes. I'm headed out this afternoon on a really exciting reporting trip, but I'm going to be in a hotel the whole time. That's why I'm really excited to work with Surfshark. Surfshark's a VPN that's going to keep me safe on all those public Wi-Fis. Surfshark is an app and browser that encrypts my activity online while blocking ads and malware. Surfshark also allows me to to virtually place myself anywhere in the world in order to unblock content that I couldn't access otherwise. That means Surfshark lets SearchParty cover stories in almost any country on Earth. So here's the deal. Use the coupon code SearchParty at surfshark.deals/SearchParty and get 4 months extra. There's also no risk. They have a 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, Surfshark is how I keep myself safe online. It's the best way for you to do the same.
Wow.
It's also the best way to support SearchParty. So thanks again to Surfshark for supporting our work. Now I'll take you back to the episode.
LA did such a good job hosting the 1984 Olympics that it re-inspired cities to want to host again. For the 1992 games, 6 cities
1980s in America was pretty good. Yeah. I think from an economics perspective, it was pretty good.
submitted bids,
Early
then
80s.
6 again for 96, 8 for 2000, then a whopping 11 for 2004. As more cities competed, the IOC regained leverage over them again.
I still don't understand why they picked Athens. So my parents visited Athens in 2001, I think, and they said that it was quite horrifying to see the disparagement between like the nicer side of town and like the really, really bad side of town. Like they went to both just because they wanted to visit, and they were very, very sad. Like seeing the stuff like needles everywhere on the ground and stuff, and people doing drugs. Even back then, it wasn't as prominent as it is now, apparently, but still.
But instead of sticking to the LA model, it began demanding more. Between 1992 and 2020, the IOC added dozens of new sports to the game.
Look at that disparagement! Look at it! Look at 84 right here, and look at now! That's literally double! Oh my
This required more venues and housing for more athletes, which host cities were primarily responsible for paying for. As the competition intensified, cities felt increasing pressure to make their bids more attractive. The most effective way to do that was to build new venues. Sydney built 15 new venues plus housing for 10,000 athletes.
Even the logic that comes with that. You're in Australia. Australia has a finite amount of people. They're not going to use this venue. Why are you building this? Why don't we just have... I mean, this is me just going on a tangent, but like, why don't we just have like set cities that host, that have the community and the population to like handle this and also use the equipment and whatnot, and then just cycle through them? Like, why are we building this? Political reasons. I understand. I'm just ranting because I hate seeing this kind of stuff.
Athens built 22 new venues, and Beijing built 12. All of this construction made hosting the games really, really expensive. This chart shows how the cost of the games skyrocketed over the last 30 years, reaching between $10 and $25 billion in
Oh my god, what happened here?
the last decade.
I want to add one big caveat to this chart, though. It only includes sports-related costs to the games. It doesn't include things like new public transportation or development projects that most all these cities spent money on for the Olympics. If we include some of those costs, these bars are actually way higher. So, for example, some estimate that Beijing spent more like $45 billion for their 2008 Summer Games.
Yeah, but they went all out. I can kind of understand why they wanted to do it and like the PR reasoning, but like,
Russia spent more like 51 in 2014, and Tokyo's bill is more like 35 billion. No matter what number you use, though, all of these cities went way over their initial budget, which the bidding process incentivizes them to keep artificially low.
What they have to do is make initial statements about the intentions and the plans that are very reduced. Once the politicians say, yeah, okay, we'll go along with this, then they start adding the bells and whistles. And those can be very, very substantial.
The revenue cities generate from ticket sales, TV contracts, and sponsorships only cover a fraction of these costs, meaning these governments and really their taxpayers are on the hook for the rest.
So
the taxpayers pay for the Olympics. I didn't even know that. That's terrible.
It doesn't look like a good economic
and
deal.
Unfair.
But host cities have known for decades that they'll likely lose money in the short term. Instead, many have been told that hosting the Olympics is an investment that will pay off in the future. Okay, so this is the IOC's webpage.
Why am I not allowed to vote? If I'm paying taxes every year, why in the hell am I not allowed to vote for the Olympics to not be held in, like, I don't know, LA or whatever? That's not fair.
Where they list the benefits of hosting the games. And they use this word legacy a lot. And by legacy, they mean things that will continue.
Oh, the nostalgia card. I like that. That's very smart marketing. The Olympics used to be so prestigious. The legacy of the Olympics is forever. Wouldn't you want to be a part of that? No.
To benefit your city long after the Olympics are over. Take sports facilities. Beijing justified spending around $460 million on this new 90,000-seat stadium by planning for a local pro soccer team to use it after the Olympics. London did the same when it...
Yeah, but how did that work out? Like, do we have, like, actual... What is it called? Like, actual info on that? Did they actually use it? There's also a lot more people in China.
Built this stadium. At first, seems like a good idea. Other legacy projects are meant to benefit even more people. Russia spent $8.7 billion on a new...
By the way, this is also a really fun factoid. My family in Russia is from Sochi. My mom and her family and all her friends from school said this was one of the worst things that's ever happened to Sochi. No joke. They said it was one of the worst things that's happened to that town in like 100 years. It sucks. It's a horrible thing. They had to build like a rail line all the way into the mountains. The tourists, like there's 2 tourist towns, Sochi and Adler, and they said it was horrible. The tourism was horrible.
New rail and highway link into Sochi for its Winter Games. And Rio de Janeiro spent $4 billion.
And they have no money, and the local government corruption. This happens everywhere too. The local government corruption of when you're building stuff like this is just ass. They take everything and then they pay out of pocket, like out of the people that don't have the money.
Billion on a new subway line connecting a beach community to its Olympic Center. The most commonly touted legacy benefit is that hosting an Olympics is a great way to kickstart your city's growth.
What historically came out of the public relations with regard to the Olympics was that this was the most wonderful thing that could ever happen to a city. It puts your city on the...
Oh, did we get hit by ads? God! Ad hate! Ugh. I guess I can elaborate on it. Like, in Brazil, there's also terrible politician corruption. Yeah. Yeah, the real ads this time. Oh, I'm so pissed. Imagine the corruption for even getting the Olympics in your city. Yeah, exactly. Like, the vote casts, the fighting, the mayor's trying to convince people. Ugh. Sounds awful. The current president of Brazil was more than 1 year in jail. Yeah. I visited Europe in 1987, way cleaner and nicer than it is now. Damn! Dude, you're older than my brother, damn. That's pretty cool. Yo, Sean, thank you for the 8 months, man. That's pretty cool, man. How much cleaner? How much cleaner was it over there when you visited? Corruption's everywhere, but each place masks it differently with some doesn't bother too much. Yes, I totally agree. In America, people are very ignorant and like try to say, oh, like this politician's good and this politician's bad. It's like, no. No. Every state has its problems, unfortunately. Why can't they have a permanent host for the Olympics similar to national competitions and leagues? Because they want money. Because politics. Because they want more money. Yeah. I'm here orbiting again? Hey, dude. I like money! Alright, let's keep it going.
The world map, so it will increase tourism, it will increase commerce, it will increase foreign investment, and that story turns out not to be true.
Yeah, I could have told you that without this, 8 minutes worth of video?
Let's start with tourism. A 2004 study found that after experiencing a bump in tourism leading up to their respective games, Atlanta, Sydney, and Seoul all saw it fall afterwards. In his book, Andrew cites a 1996 study on 3 Olympic Winter Games that found that the long-term impact on tourism was between non-existent and very modest, and a 2010 study that found little evidence of any benefit to tourism of hosting an Olympic Games, and considerable evidence of damage. In other
Wow, it's almost like the other big gripe that I have personally is that 99% of the time, the infrastructure cannot handle the burst of people that come to visit. So, for example, I had a friend that lived in New Zealand, and she said that when she was going to school and she had to take the bus, the infrastructure that locked down after the rugby game that was like the semifinals or the finals within the capital city locked down the entire infrastructure within like 100-kilometer radius. I'm not even kidding. All the way out into the suburbs, and it delayed traffic by at least 2 hours. She said that normally it takes her like around about an hour and a half to go home, and it took her 3 hours to get home one way because the motorway was completely clogged. There was a bunch of people that were taking buses, like that had to go outside of the city, and the infrastructure couldn't handle it. They wrote about it in the papers and said it was like one of the biggest like traffic lockdowns of like the last like 50 years or some shit. It was absolutely horrific.
In other words, being on TV can backfire.
If the weather is particularly too warm, or if it's too cold, if there are security incidents, if there are bad stories about the traffic, that some cities are able to maybe help their image, but other cities are hurting their image.
Many legacy infrastructure investments haven't paid off either.
Nope.
Russia's rail project is now considered an epic failure.
Yep. Yeah, my family, they had their 2 cents. They basically said it was one of the worst things that's ever happened.
And Andrew argues that while Rio's subway line benefits some residents, what the city really needed was a line serving the lower income neighborhoods inland. But that's not where the Olympics were.
The typical case was that the IOC...
Yeah, because they can't hold it there because it's the poor people area. We don't want to be next to the poor people, said the Olympics.
comes along and they say, we need these 30 venues. We want you to put them in a way so that transportation is facilitated and other conveniences are allowed. And so what the city would have to do is contort itself in order to accommodate the IOC.
Yep.
Empty stadiums are a particularly visible sign of this mismatch. That Beijing Stadium had about 80,000 more seats than what the local soccer team could fill, so it backed out. Now the stadium sits mostly empty, costing the city some $10 million a year to maintain.
Oh yeah, that's another thing, maintaining, and then eventually it falls apart because no one's using it and they can't afford to keep it up anymore. They're gonna have to break it down.
This is what's called a white elephant, and there are now dozens of them across Olympic host cities.
Wow.
These are venues left over from the Athens 2004 games. And ESPN found that 12 out of 27 venues in Rio de Janeiro had not held an event a year after it hosted the Olympics. For many residents, white elephants are evidence that hosting the games is a waste of money.
The idea that had been out there forever and ever, this is wonderful news for the city. They get to do this. No, more often than not, it's going to be the opposite.
By 2015, city residents were ready to do something about it. The IOC had 6 cities bidding for the 2024 games until protests forced Boston and Hamburg to drop out. A new mayor in Rome fulfilled a promise to shut down its bid. Then more than 260,000
That's actually really good. I'm surprised that a mayor did that.
people signed a petition that led Budapest to drop out as well. It left the IOC with just 2 bidders. And once again,
Hungary #1.
little leverage.
Good.
The IOC has since passed reforms that it says reduce the cost of hosting, largely by requiring hosts to use existing and temporary venues, like LA did back in 1984, and allowing them to partner with other cities. As of now, Paris
So maybe LA won't be that bad, but still.
doesn't look like it will blow its budget, and LA's organizing committee is saying that the city can again pull off an on-budget Olympics. But the question is, if they do, could it spark another bidding war?
I don't know if we'll go into a big cycle like we did after the 84 game.
I don't think so, purely because LA has gotten even worse than it was in 1984. I think it'll offset the actual like good side of LA having the ability to host it because they succeeded in 1984. But I also think that LA is in a much worse state. Much, much worse. Also, the Olympics are going to get held in an election year in 2028, is it not? Am I mistaken or not? Like, isn't that kind of like People M? Like, uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Games. I mean, do think it's possible that there'll be a small turn. It'll appear less undesirable than it has.
The IOC has also stopped taking bids and instead negotiates with cities privately. It picked Milan and Cortina, Italy, over Stockholm for the 2026 Winter Games, and it gave Brisbane, Australia, the 2032 Summer Games. But some are arguing for a more permanent solution.
I think it's perfectly plausible to think about building the Olympic Shangri-La with its 35 or 40 venues for the Summer Games, a smaller number for the Winter Games, in one place.
Some believe Greece, the historical home of the Olympics, would make a good permanent host. Others
maybe. I feel like it would be really fitting. I think it could be, but like, and probably not. I don't think it's a good idea.
Have mentioned LA since it has so many venues and has done so well in the past. A permanent spot would eliminate white elephant projects, save cities from going into debt, and reduce the game's environmental footprint. But it could also reduce much of the excitement around each new Olympics.
It's not going to be easy to go to a model that makes environmental sense and economic sense. But I do think it makes sense to talk about it and put it out there as someplace that we should be heading.
Depending on how the next...
What would you choose? Probably America, something akin to Los Angeles, that would have the venues so that it could be like relatively easy to host, or somewhere in the middle of like Europe. But it would, again, I would probably, in an ideal world, if I was like the president of the Olympic Committee, I would have to oversee what countries could handle the infrastructure and maybe make it outside of a city. I don't know. Not in the middle of Europe. Why not, man? It has to be the Congo. Or like right here in the smack dab in the middle. In Africa.
If few Olympics go, it might be the only direction left.
Yeah.
All right, thanks everyone so much for watching episode 15. That's also our 1-year anniversary of Search Party. We have over 380,000 subscribers. We published 15 videos, a ton of shorts. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And I want to thank my whole team for the really hard work they've done over the last year. It's been a lot of fun.
Here I come. Here I come.
Keep an eye out for our next few stories. We've got a really good pipeline coming. We've got one more Olympic story. And then we're back to geopolitics on a really exciting story that's got a really cool visual hook that I think you guys will like.
Hold on,
and then we're doing a story on MMA and then sports betting. So keep an eye out for those. Again, if you haven't subscribed to Search Party, please do. And I'll see you in a couple weeks. All right. See ya.
Bye! Wow, what a good video. That was informative. I liked that a lot, chat. Did you enjoy it? I did. Give him a like. Check them out.